it cost the state?
You cannot estimate. It's so much. The trauma also is so much. And the truth about it is that our governors should wake up and engage with IPOB. It is IPOB that gave such order. We'll talk to them, tell them about what we are losing. Do you understand me? Yeah, we are agitating. We must fight for our brother. But we can't also fighting for our brother and suffering our people.
What do you think about Ipob, their activities, and their call for a separate state from Nigeria?
I believe in Nigeria entity. I believe also that we, the Igbos, through the instrumentality of our state government, can make an Igbo a nation inside, a mini nation inside a nation. We have everything as contained in the Nigerian Constitution as a state, a legitimate state, a state that can make what we want. So I don't think, unless I change the name of the state, I believe that the more I'm getting from Nigeria, I can now partner with our brothers abroad to bring the aspiration, what they want in the state. It is only when we have a governor that is very transparent, that can render account, that can be proactive, that can meet the wishes of his people. And that is why I am the only one in this contest that is different from others.
You talk about waiting the Southeast caucus of the National Assembly decide. Say they talk about the issue of insecurity.
We want to seek for a political solution.
And you
the issue.
Yes, and one of the issues now also say now go closely monitor the case around the arrest and detention of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. What now want to achieve with that?
No, I have been saying it. I said it in my last discussion. We want to know, because our brother is not wasn't in Kenya with Nigerian passport. He was there with a British passport. So for them to arrest him there, bring him here, we need to know which document they take care and come. What thing happen? Do you understand me? In every country that is practicing democracy, there is freedom of speech. It's allowed and enshrined in our constitution. Do you understand me? If our brother is saying anything or talking about anything or saying things, we should not be emotional to use it on him. Do you understand me? Anybody can wake up today and say anything. Do you understand me? He is allowed by the Constitution of Nigeria to say it. Do you understand me? But when you pick somebody when no carry Nigerian passport in a foreign land, then we can ask questions.
So you think, say, the federal government get questions to answer?
We have to ask. Why not? We have to ask. Now, person brother him be. He's our brother.
So this issue of insecurity for the Southeast now one where many people don't think say go fit affect the election where they come for November in terms of voter apathy, because for 2017 INEC talks say now only about 22% of the total number of people will come out to register now at last come out to participate for the election. You get this fear, say this issue will affect the turnout for this election?
We will talk to our brothers, the IPOB people. But they know they talk say no election, no, because if they talk say no election, they will come carry them here. They will come impose them impose something where we no want. So we have to tell them the importance. Let them just beg, make them pipe down. We know say they get power. Just pipe.
One of the great challenges
do this election
is knowing
make we do this election, because if we not do this election proper, while I go there, this is Anambra is the head of Igbo nation. Huh? You see Ujubu house, they can't come out our brothers say we there here.
And some of the candidates talk say perhaps the people this time want somebody with like a fresh start, somebody when you get like history and all that. I say this because, Senator, you be one person where don't they involved in some sort of controversies. For instance, your case versus the federal government, the AMCON case of the debt of 135 billion naira. That's something where you even talk about in one interview where you grant in March, say you're facing as something where the other candidates...
Let me tell you that. Let me tell you, I've been a puppet with people tell you.
How did you get to know?
How did you get to know that?
That
it's what you read.
About
you need to ask me.
this an opportunity for you to clear that up. So you talk for that interview, say, you feel, say, this na issue where some of the candidates feel bring up to...
You ask me about it, we have a debate. Politicians try to slander people. They try to, talk things they don't know.
This is an opportunity for you to clear that up.
It's not about opportunity. I'm going to make a public statement. And I'm going to encourage every candidate to make his financial state worth. I am the only candidate, the cleanest candidate among every candidate. I can tell you for sure that you can go back to the last 6 years. I have no 1 naira debit with any Nigerian bank.
What about the case with AMCON?
I took AMCON to court because I invested in line with government policy. And AMCON, we had understanding which was registered in a court as a consent judgment that they will give me $100 million, which is nothing compared to the security I gave them. I gave AMCON security worth over 150 billion. And that is why today nobody can challenge it. I gave them my asset because I invested in line with government policy, and there was a policy somersault. And if you understand history or economics, when government put up its policy and you invest in line with that policy and they retract that policy or reverse that policy, it becomes a policy somersault. Those who invest in line with that approaches government, that government should come to their help. Because my case was an issue of deregulation. Anyone that has accused me of anything by the special grace.
My pleasure.
The situation in the Southeast between February and April this year was worrisome for both Southeasterners in particular and Nigerians in general. The onslaught of attacks on government-owned facilities was something to worry about. But the caucus didn't say much at the time. Was there a reason for this?
No, not exactly, but we have levels of leadership everywhere, including Igbo land. We have the Ohaneze. We also have the Governors Forum. And they have church leaders as well. So we expected them to take the responsibility of not just speaking out, but trying to douse those tensions. Well, of course, they tried, within the limits, of expectations and their powers. So, but unfortunately, we viewed with regrets that people didn't hit to some of their calls for restraint, including the federal government and indeed some of our people. So it got a point where it appears that things were getting very, very bad. And so it appears that nobody was listening to each other. So we felt as a representative of the people, it is time for us to also try and intervening, take it from where our other leaders stopped.
The timing of your mission and your communique was quite strategic. Exactly a week after the president visited the Southeast. Was it deliberate?
Well, there was a conversation between people, especially Ohaneze and the president. Personally, some of us were not there. I was not there because the meeting took place the same day we had our National Executive Committee meeting on the PDP. So most of the PDP leaders were in Abuja. So most of us were not there. So I'm not sure what was agreed. But it absolutely has nothing to do with the meeting at all.
Would you have been there, assuming you didn't have the PDP meeting?
Well, Johannes invited me to that meeting, so I would have been happy to be there. Anything that concerns our people concerns me as well. But because we have a commitment to the party meeting we had that same day, and because other leaders will be there, so because they can speak for all of us, so we decided, some of us in PDP, to attend the National Executive Committee and allowed those our colleagues, our friends and our brothers in APC and Ohaneze and some church leaders to go and represent us.
The wordings of your communique were quite instructive. I'd like to read out a particular paragraph. You say you express solidarity with our people in the Southeast over the marginalization of the region in the scheme of things within the Nigerian Commonwealth. The caucus feels the pains of our people and their quest for equity, justice and protection of their lives and property in every part of the country. So the caucus therefore resolved to continue to fight for a level playing ground and an enabling federal system where Indigo is is able to develop their homeland at their pace and equally pursue their happiness and actualize their enormous potential in every part of the country unmolested. Now, I don't know, reading through this, one would think that there is a deliberate plan by the Nigerian state to marginalize the Southeast. Is this what the Southeast, the caucus is trying to communicate, or is this just a feeling among Southeasterners?
You see, the people of the Southeast, they are used to a communal life. To them, communal life means living together with everybody. Anywhere you go in this country, you see an Igbo man. And now, over many years, you see that there's a shift in accommodation they've had with their host communities, host cities, and all of that. So people started coming home. You know, most of our people who were born in the North, they never know any other place except the North, you know, as their home. So we integrated every part of Nigeria. And this has been why our people, you know, feel free wherever they go and then establish their business and all of that. Now, we now have a government, you know, which we believe should be able to protect every Nigerian, no matter where you live. So this is one aspect of it. But we didn't see that because some people were chased out of their businesses, chased out of their homes outside Igbo land. So they returned home. Now, as if that was not enough, we believe that the Constitution made provision for federal character in appointments. We also believe that the government is about the people and people, everybody. We also believe that once the election is over, what remains is leadership. So we expected leadership from the present regime that will accommodate everybody. You know, because where there is peace, there's progress. And where there's injustice, you don't expect peace. So we felt that our people had been kept out of the corridors of power over this period, especially in the security sector. So we expect that security sector, every part of Nigeria should be represented. Because if you are discussing about security of the country, there must be people who will be able to give perspective in respect of their own region or the area in the discussion. So they'll be able to take an aggregate view of all that's happening.
With regards to security, every part of the country has felt its own pain of insecurity in recent times. In fact, we've seen southern governors profile some solutions in terms of coming up with some, they say it's not regional security outfit, but we continue to say it's a regional security effort in trying to bring peace. So when you say that Southeasterners did not feel safe in parts of the country, and even at home right now, because when we talk about the security situation in the Southeast, we're referring specifically to the Southeast. Is it as a result of the agitations? Because some Nigerians seem to take exception to how the agitations in the Southeast have now taken shape.
You see, that's what I said. The fact that they left other places and returned to their homes, and yet they are not safe. As a result of what? Why did they have to leave other places? Yes, because they are not secure in those places. That is very, very unfortunate. You know, so the issue of insecurity all over Nigeria is not as if it's coming out of the blues. It's expected. So people like us have spoken about it for over 10 years now. And I kept saying that it's going to get worse. And it will keep getting worse because we're not doing the right thing. There are those who have blamed the elite. Yes. It's not the elite issue. No. It's the security architecture. Let me put this in context. Yes. There are those who have blamed the elite, that these agitations and feelings of marginalization started with the elite because, I mean, they have felt like they were out of the corridors of power and somewhat encouraged the agitators whom somehow now they cannot seem to control anymore. And the manner in which those agitators have gone about their business is beginning to cause ill feelings in other parts of the country. Do you agree with that assessment? Never. You see, the thing is this. What we are seeing in terms of agitation is a reaction to injustice. Right? Because any man who is unjustly treated is not going to be interested in peace. It's a reaction. So it's not the leaders of any particular country that's of any particular part of Nigeria that is telling the federal government to have a deliberate policy of excluding a whole region, you know, from the corridors of power. No, I'm not sure there's any such conspiracy between the leaders of the Southeast and the federal government. We're talking about inclusivity. A situation where you have the army, the police, the air force, the navy, the immigration, prison, and all of that. And nobody from the South is considered good enough to head any of this. I mean, it's an affront to the people. It affects their psychology.
So
I've made a delegation personally
to other
on this
people
subject.
of Nigeria,
Yes.
they have spoken against it. Why would those same people of Nigeria now begin to, make the Igbo feel unsafe in other parts of the country?
No, it's not as if there's a conspiracy, of the entire people of Nigeria against the Igbos. No, certainly we have a lot of friends all over the place, right? Just as we too have felt the concerns, the worries of other people. I've gone to the Northeast to meet the people in the IDPs. And I explained to them that I was just quite young during the Civil War. I was barely 4 years. So I knew what I went through, and other people of my age. So I can feel their pains. So we believe as well that whatever is happening in the South is also affects everybody in Nigeria. So, but we wanted the federal government to make a deliberate effort to ensure that the people of the South feel wanted in Nigeria, and not having policies, and conducts that appear to be saying we are pushing you out of the country you belong, the country you beat with all the rest of all of us.
Were the president's words assuring in that regards? Because he says he doesn't think that any Igbo man would feel like he or she is not Nigerian. He doesn't know why anyone would feel that way. And that, he made reference to the integration which you talked about, the fact that anywhere you go, you will always see an Igbo person. Did you find the president's words and visit reassuring?
It's what you say and what you do are two different things. I've told you, after the election in 2015, I took it upon myself to have a conversation with the president. In the presence of one of my friends, a senator from Katsina State, right? So we met with the president. I said, look, this election are divided on more than any other election. I would like to see the president to have a conversation with the Southeast and South people over how they will feel integrated in your government. And he assured me he was going to have a meeting after the inauguration, but somehow that never took place. And when this issue of the Southeast complaints,
you always
from the South, I had a conversation with him. I said, look, this is why my people are complaining. We didn't want to make it a media issue. We felt as leaders we can have a conversation on things that consensus.
And you don't think that is an elite conversation, let me put it that way? Because as you talked about, they say it's one thing to say, it's another thing to do. For some people, they say that when they assess what the president has done so far, especially in terms of infrastructural development, the Southeast has not had it as well under any other administration, regardless of how many people were in government under those administrations.
You see, it's not enough to put infrastructures and then they are not part of the decision making of the place, of the area, either the state or federal. So that's why we have representative government, so that every part will be there when decisions have been made. So assuming an Igbo man is president, and maybe a partner, you just say Southwest, let me just use that for instance, and then you have a whole South with all the endowments, the education, the exposure, and you don't have one single person from the Southwest, you can trust, or be able to believe that he can handle any of the sectors of this country. How do you explain that?
Who point to this being an elite conspiracy point to it is because in the places where they have, or they supposedly have representation, those places, the human index in those places are really nothing to write home about. Apart from where the national level is doing what it needs to do in those areas to bring development home to those people. We have since mentioned the security situation in many parts of the country, not just in the southeast of the country. We've talked about, you say you've been to Maiduguri, you've been to the northeast of the country, and I'm sure that you must have seen how a lot of the people live in internally displaced persons camp.
Nobody's happy about that. Nobody, including myself.
Exactly. So if we were to swap it and say, for the people who have representation in government, for the people whose people are in government, have their people felt the impact of their people in government? Don't you think that's a valid question to ask?
No, it's a different kettle of fish, whether they feel impact or not. I'm talking of inclusivity here, right? If you have children, and then you give preference to some of your children, and others feel left out, I'm sure as a father, you are not actually up to your responsibility, for parenting those people, because you're able to take care of your children at least in equal manners. So the issue of parenting should be comprehensive, and that's what leadership in a country is like.
Okay, you liken it to parenting, but let me quickly talk about this because your caucus also say that you're going to set up a committee to intervene on this matter, which is the matter of Nnamdi Kanu. What results are you hoping to get from your intervention?
Well, it's not easy to predict right now, but what we want to see is to reduce tension in the Southeast. What we want to see is to make sure that the federal government understands the feeling of our people. What we want to see is for our young people to believe that their leaders are making a case for them at the highest level. But we expect that ultimately we'll find a way, a political solution, in respect of the Nnamdi Kanu's problem. But I don't want to predict what will happen. But in the past, we've done a similar thing. When Wazirike was detained by Obasanjo, he was in detention until Yar'Adua came. I led a delegation of my colleagues in the Senate. I had a conversation with the president, invited Andoka as Attorney General. Eventually, we ended up in a political solution, and Wazirike was released. Same thing with Nnamdi Kanu. When he was detained, I also led a delegation to meet with the president. So we expect that just as we had some results in the past, including the release of Nnamdi and Wazirike, maybe we should come out with something good enough. The Ipob that started there said no more have anything to do with it. That these are sheer criminals who are now trying to take advantage of what we wanted to do earlier. So what we're going to do now is to ensure that Mondays and other such days, our people will come out and do their business.
The first thing you said was that there was a break in communication between the leader and the led.
Yes.
Would you also say it is a crisis of legitimacy amongst leaders?
I don't think it has to do legitimacy.
And IPOB leaders?
No, I don't think it's issue of legitimacy. It's a kind of difference, in approach, right? So the leaders rightly had believed that if there is anything going wrong, if there is issue of marginalization and injustice, we can talk about it. We will continue to push it. We don't want any kind of violence, because anybody that's scared in a circumstance will not rise again. So everybody believes there's an injustice, but it's a matter of approach. How do we resolve it? Do we continue a conversation, or do we become violence? But the problem with the violence is that the violence is visited on us, our own people. So either our people visiting the violence, or the federal agencies are visiting the violence in reaction to what our young people are doing. Whichever way you look at it, we are losing.
Are you going to meet the president over this?
We hope to meet him at some point, yeah, definitely. After all, we've met with him several in the past over matters such as this. I'm sure he'll be happy to meet with us.
Your meeting is coming even as southern governors are also meeting as well, and they have also proposed their own, they come out with a communique. They're saying that they want the presidency to come to the south, to the southern parts of the country, and this is the second time they're saying it. It would seem that they had to re-emphasize this particular point. I mean, the fact that they're still saying that it should come to the south, they haven't said what region it should go to. But do you support the stance of the southern governors?
These are our leaders. We'll stand by them. That's speaking for us. But remember that PDP has set up a zoning committee. So it will be prejudicial if we take a firm position on this matter as a party. Yes, they are talking as governors across party lines, which is good. But for us as a PDP, we would like to have a conversation on this subject. And that's why we set up a committee headed by my own governor, Right Honorable Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi. We believe that they'll do the right thing.
Incidentally, the meeting held in your state.
Yeah.
You don't think that it already puts him in a bind?
I don't think so. My governor is not somebody who can put that kind of bind. No, he's not going to. I think he's a very reasonable person, So he's going to consult widely. He's not the only person in the committee anyway.
He's not the only person in the committee. He's not the only southern governor in the PDP there as well.
Of course, yes.
The PDP southern governors, are they not aware of what is happening within their party to say, you know what, southern governors, perhaps you should hold on this for now?
No. They are just reiterating what they said earlier. So it's nothing new.
Indeed.
They just say we still stand on the issue of a certain president.
Considering the developments in your party, because this talk around the possibility of it going back to the north has come mostly from your party. Don't you think that the southern governors should have expressed some reservations about that, considering the new developments that have come up in your party?
I don't believe the PDP are taking any such decision. No,
they haven't.
If they have, they won't set up a committee. But I've said that as a person, I stand with where our leaders will stand.
Are there any parts in your communique which you think that you're going to be taking up in the National Assembly, especially since you're a National Assembly caucus, and especially now that the National Assembly has just come back from recess?
Well, I think this is essentially our internal problem, which is security, in terms of security, I guess the security of the lives and property in our area. The area that's related to it is the issue of policing, which I have personally sponsored a bill that's being considered at the level of the Constitutional Amendment Committee, right? So, which is headed by my successor. So we are going to continue to push that, because that's the only thing that can guarantee the safety of lives and property in Nigeria.
You saw attempts in recent times.
Yes.
I mean, we saw attempts by Southeast, South, even Southwest governors in particular, to come up with what they said were state policing outfits. Well, not state police in that sense, but some security outfits. We saw Amotekun, we saw attempts at Ibubiago. In the Southeast in particular, it hasn't quite worked. Ibubiago hasn't taken off as it ought to. Why do you think that's the reason?
You see, those are just panic measures. It's not enduring. And at worst, it's going to be a court anarchy. Right?
This is not because of ESN.
No, I'm not talking about ESN.
I'm saying Ibubiago didn't get off because they were going to have a clash with ESN.
I don't know. It's the governors who answer that one. Because we agreed at all of Southeast that the Ibubiago should be set up. So if there's a delay, I'm not in the position to explain why that happened. It was part of the draft of the legal document necessary for it. So why it's not in place today, I'm not in a position to answer. Because it's left for the various state government. But I believe...
It doesn't mean that you're not in a position to know. You're just not in a position to answer.
No. I'm not in a position to know. Because some of the state government, they have some organizations, or if you like, institutions, they consider to be security outfits. Not necessarily Ibubiago. Some have forest guard and all of that. But I think there was an agreement they reached to set up a uniform security network. They call it Ibubiago. But until now, that has not happened. So I'm not sure what the reason might be, but I believe that every state is taking their own peculiar steps to guide and secure its own territory.
I ask this because we do know that in the in the wake of setting up Ibubiago, I mean, for the states who did try, there were reported clashes. Ebonyi, for instance, reported some clashes between members of the Ibubiago and the Eastern Security Network. And there were fears that, that was going to create a crisis of some sort. One of legitimacy and the second, whether the people were which one the people were going to follow. If both of them were being established for the security of lives of the people of the Southeast.
You see, that's the point I'm making. That those panic measures can only lead to anarchy. Because our solution to our security challenge in Nigeria is to have a constitutional provision for a decentralized policing, right? To have sub-national police. The difference between that and what they are doing is that there will be a law, a constitutional provision that will not only make provision for the establishment of those sub-national policing at the state and probably at the local government, but it is also going to make provision for how they are regulated, right? That's what is missing in what the states are doing. They may have their own internal regulation, but that is not enough. So unless we do that, we are going to continue to have this kind of clash.
The problem we have right now is that not a lot more non-state actors are carrying weapons about.
Yes, because we don't want to do the right thing. So if you have legitimate use of force provided for in the Constitution, and you have it in place in 36 states, assuming you have, say, 500 policemen, or no, just say 5,000 policemen or whatever, in each state, fighting insecurity there in different sectors, is going to overwhelm all the bandits, right? But because the federal police are insufficient, ill-trained, and ill-compensated, sometimes they are discouraged. When they die, nobody cares. So, but if each state sets up their own legitimate and constitutionally provided security outfit. It means that a war against bandits and all of this will be fought in 36 states. But it is not happening because the number of soldiers and police you have are limited. So if you just scatter all over the country,
who really are they negotiating with?
Thank you very much. As the communique said, a committee will be set up by the caucus to look into finding a political solution for the release of Nnamdi Kanu. Those specifics will be made known when the committee comes alive. So I think the issue will be, when is this committee coming alive?
That's the point.
And then what will be the terms of reference for this committee? The political will of the members of the caucus is that we want to go towards a peaceful resolution of conflict approach than litigations. We're trying to find alternative way of resolving the issue. I'm sure the committee, once they come alive, will have a lot to offer in bringing a solution to this problem.
All right. So when you talk about a political resolution, will it put an end to secessionist agitations in the southeast? When you call for the release of Nnamdi Kanu from jail, or is he still going to answer to questions of secessionist tendencies? What kind of political resolution are we talking about, and how far?
Well, like I said, the mandate of this committee will be defined by the caucus by the time it is constituted. But for now, because Nnamdi Kanu is where he is kept, a lot of crisis is happening. That is why you have the sit at home. That is why you have some of those trickles of violence happening in the region. And so I'm sure by the time a well-researched terms of reference is handed over to the committee, it will incorporate what will bring a solution to the needs of the time in that particular region. The issue of asking for secession and all the rest of them, we are members of the National Assembly of Nigeria, not any other country. So we will not be supporting anything that is against us being one formidable, big African nation. And there's always a way to bring people to the table to discuss issues that appear to be hydra-headed. So that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, the speaker alluded to that much. But doesn't it sound to you strange that the leaders of the Southeast, including the governors, seem to have found it intractable restraining or reining in the proscribed? Ipob is a proscribed group. The proscribed group still keeps on issuing orders in that part of the country. And now the leaders from there are asking that their leader be released. Doesn't it sound strange to you?
To pretend that Ipob is not existing is to live in the fool's paradise. It is existing. To pretend that the members are not existing is to deceive ourselves. What we are asking for is, how do we step in as officers of government? Because though we are three arms of government, we are one government. We are part of the administration of President Buhari's administration. And if it is biting the executive, it bites us. We did not go there as economic leaders of the nation. We did not go there as religious leaders of the nation. We approached the issue as the members of caucus of the National Assembly. And we are trying to bring an intervention. We cannot, as leaders from the zone, be silent when things are not going right.
Well,
it's a journey. It's a journey.
It's a little too late.
It is not. It's never. It's never.
Let me land on this, please. That the leaders of the Southeast, for quite a long time, actually just kept, silent, and the silence was read to mean, the consent to whatever Nnamdi Kanu's Ipob
actually stands for. Are you concerned that Ipob, though proscribed, is as powerful as it is, that it can order a seat at home? The governors say, please, residents, go about your businesses without fear or, and let or hindrance. In spite of the governor's call, the people still stayed at home. How are you going to turn the tide on Ipob?
Well, you see, the tide we're trying to turn is not on Ipob. We are trying to bring peace to our region. We're trying to allow the people go for their daily activities. We are traders, we are farmers. And when we see it without working, it affects the economy of our people. And as leaders, we must do something about it. It's not every member of every citizen from the Southeast region is a member of Ipob. But the impact of Ipob affects everyone in the region. Businesses.
The president's visit to Imo, was it comforting? Is it, does it give you confidence that will give Ndibo that sense of belonging?
No, it's the president visit, he went to do his official duty. I've been there in the Southeast to represent the president in the same state to commission the ecological project that he did in the state. I was sent by him to represent him there. It's not about the visit of Mr. President. That is not. The Igbos are looking for the kind of federalism that will give them the opportunity to develop better than they are at the moment. They are looking for fair.
Kind will be, but
what we are looking for is why is this happening? How can we go about it and resolve it? And we cannot. Emphasis on, as leaders, we cannot keep quiet. Like the governors are discussing among themselves. Southern governors are discussing on issues that borders the southern region or their interests. We, as the caucus members of the National Assembly, cannot be silent, and we cannot pretend that Nnamdi Kalu is not our brother. He's our brother, and we cannot pretend that Ipob is not in existence. It's existent. We cannot also agree that all people from Igbo extraction, from Southeast, are all members of Ipob. The question remains: is there a problem? Does it need to be solved? Where do we start? We have taken the first step. All other questions you're asking, the answers will come as we progress.
Okay, great. Benjamin Kalu, Member House of Representatives, thank you so much for joining us.
Governor of Abia State. Good morning, Senator, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Always a delight to be here.
Well, Senator Abaribe, I think Tundu already identified the major issues. Please, could you share with us the purpose of the Southeast Caucus meeting, the outcome, the major decisions reached, and next steps by that Southeast Caucus, particularly with regard to Ipob and the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu?
Ruben, if you look at the meeting, you will see that it was across parties, it was across all divides, and it was the caucus of both the House of Rep and the Senate. And the idea for us was that we had looked at what was happening. It's our constituents that are bearing the brunt of all that has been going on there. And it was necessary for us to take a stand, and that was what we did. And you could see the communique that we issued after the meeting. Basically, that Ipob itself had said that they had called off the sit at home. And nobody knows who exactly is going around saying that they were enforcing a non-existent order. The spokesman of Ipob is Emma Powerful, who had issued a statement to that effect. And I think Governor Peter Obi said it the other day that maybe some other actors have joined, criminals, cultists, all manners of people, and are using the sit at home to perpetrate mayhem in the Southeast. And we all condemned it in its entirety. And we also felt that if the grown-up, let's say the reason for all this has to do with the incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu, just like we had done earlier, that we should try to engage the authorities and make sure that we can find a solution that will be palatable to all sides. And that's exactly the kernel of what we discussed.
Right, I want to talk about that possibility that you feel exists of a political solution to the current incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu. What exactly is the likelihood of this political solution? What angle are you approaching negotiations with the Federal Republic, if at all you're considering that? Can you take us through what you're thinking in terms of plans for that?
Well, I guess that there is nothing that you cannot be negotiated. There's nothing that you cannot come and say, let us have a discussion on. And we intend that we will also engage the authorities, the federal authorities. And, there are two aspects to this. If we can find a resolution, a way forward, then we will approach the legal side, because we know that there are some legal issues also involved there. It's not going to be easy. We do not think that it's just a walk in the park, but we know that it's better to talk than to let things continue to slide the way it was going. Because you could see that it degenerated into not even letting children go to school and all that, go take exams and so forth. And that's not in our character. And we felt that we need to come in and decisively step into the matter. Of course, with every other stakeholder, the Ohanese, the governors, and every other person, we think that there's still a chance at a negotiated settlement.
Oh, and we'll come back to you, Senator Enyinnaya, Abaribe, and we'll talk some more. All right, welcome back. We still have Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe, Senate Minority Leader, former Deputy Governor of Abia State. Senator, good to have this conversation with you. So the last time you were here, you talked about the possibility of some people, causing all this mayhem, and you kept on saying it's not Ipob. With this, now that you've said, can we hold you by that by saying maybe some other actors are causing all of this, and probably who are those actors? And secondly, I'd like to talk to you about all of this sort of rapprochement. Is it because of the president visited? Is it because there was a dialogue, by some Igbo leaders with the president? How is all of this connected to the president's visit? And then there's some other things, because media was shut out of that hall, that requests you made from the president from that visit that we should know about, at least to allay fears and calm people down.
Well, if I take what you said earlier, first of all, Ipob on its own said that there should be no more sit at home, and that people should go about their businesses, legitimate businesses, and all that. Yet, there were some people who attacked people who were going about their business, saying that, that there should be a lockdown, meaning that nobody now knows who was enforcing what. And that's why we felt that those who are enforcing it could not have been the people who also said, let there be no sit down. That is why we are saying that it must have been elements that we do not know. And we actually also suggested that both the governors and the security agencies work hand in hand and fish out those who are doing this, because this is detrimental to our welfare and the economy of the Southeast. On the matter of what was discussed with the president. I wasn't there, but I know that the speech that was read by the president of Ohanaeze was released to the press. And in all, what everybody wants is to have peace in your place, because without peace, you can't have any development, you can't have any movement, you can't have anything. And I think that each and every one of us pulling from different strands will probably bring to to our people the required resolutions of, that they want. Secondly, we also feel that there is an attempt to introduce into the Southeast something that is alien to us, which is these incessant killings and assassinations and so forth. It doesn't have, it's not us. Our ethos as Ndibo is Onyagala one. We don't forsake your brother. So that brothers are killing brothers and that all these type of things are happening, we think is alien to our character. And that's why we feel that the sooner every other person comes in and we find out who and take out those who are doing this, the better for every one of us in the Southeast. That's exactly the situation now.
Well, Senator, two quick things. The Southern Governors Forum, 17 governors, some of them represented by their deputies, met yesterday in Enugu, and they came up with a number of resolutions with regard to fiscal federalism, the Petroleum Industry Act, the commercialization of the NNPC, open grazing, and also particularly VAT, which they say should be collected by states. What do you think about the Southern Governors Forum, who again, like the Southeast Caucus that you referred to, met along bipartisan lines? And then secondly, yesterday, one of the strong members of your party, Femi Fani-Kayode, was seen in Aso Villa paying homage to the president and being announced as the newest member of the All Progressives Congress, a party he once described as the Almajiri People's Congress. So he's there now, and he's one of a series of persons who have gone to the APC. He even said some other governors, Bauchi governor or your governor, and some other governors will follow suit. It looks like the PDP is just losing all its prominent persons. How does that position your party for 2023 and the capacity of the party to move from being a minority party into a dominant majority party in 2023?
I would prefer that we do not dwell on Fani-Kayode. In Igbo, there's a saying that Amabo onye mkpulato nkojo ya aragahu. If you correctly describe a short man, finding him is very, very easy. I think Obasanjo had dealt with the matter of who Fani-Kayode is, and I think we should just leave that aside. Coming to the fact,
how did President Obasanjo describe him? How did President Obasanjo describe him?
I think we can find out that he already had made that statement. I would have to repeat it here. But the point really, Ruben, is I listened to Governor Umahi this morning, and he was very emphatic on Channels Television. I said that, Fani-Kayode needs to come and apologize to him. How can he say that he brought him to APC? So you could see that already there are discordant tunes coming out from there. And I think we should just leave that. As for the fact that PDP is going to take over in 2023, the facts are very, very clear. Again, our people say that no labanaka and enyo. If you wear a gold bracelet, you don't need to be looking at it. Everybody knows that you're wearing a gold bracelet. Nobody in Nigeria today can say that where we were in 2015 is where we are today in 2021. Are we better off? Capital, no. And so when we go to the polls, we will see how Nigerians are going to express their feelings about the government in power. So we're not bothered about a few people who decide to make their decisions. It's their personal decision where to go. I will not go anyway. So I have nothing to talk about that. Ruben.
Southern Governors Forum meeting in Enugu.
Well, what I see from what the Southern governors did was a reiteration of their meeting both in Delta and in Lagos. And all that they have just done is that they continue to reiterate it. Presidency must come to the South, fiscal federalism to be enforced, and VAT collection. Of course, they are very right on VAT. VAT is not there in the exclusive list. VAT is not there on the concurrent list. And therefore, VAT is residual. Residual means that the states can make laws for it. And I don't see how we can. In fact, if they want my advice, what I would say to the federal government is rather than using FIRS to be dragging unnecessarily, they should call all the attorneys general of the states, sit down and hash out a resolution of this matter. And that should now take care of that. You know, we can't be a federation and then some people are breaching the law. The law is clear. VAT is not in the exclusive nor concurrent list. So the federal government has absolutely no say in that matter. I can understand the history. And I watched Ijewere yesterday when he said, this is how we came to this point, and this is what happened. And we can take in all those historical facts into consideration and our present realities, sit with everybody and hash out a solution, which is what federalism is all about.
Well, still on the issue of the Southern Governors Forum, they also reiterated the importance of regional security. So my question is, what has happened to Ebube Agu in that clash with the ESN? And that also raises the issue you referred to earlier about the political solution, possible political solution for the current incarceration of Nnamdi Kanu, as opposed to a legal solution, because we haven't really seen the latest charges brought against him, but we can well imagine. In the last couple of days, the presidency has reiterated the fact that Ipob is a proscribed group, and presidential spokesman Garba Shehu mentioned how Ipob has regularly murdered security services and innocent civilians. So how will that Ebube Agu and ESN conflict in the Southeast be resolved? And how does that designation of Ipob, and therefore its leader, in these terms, how does that affect your attempt to find a political solution for his release?
Well, I wouldn't be in the best position to talk about Ebube Agu because that is exactly the job of the chief security officers of the Southeast. Their job is to have that regional outfit. They signed up to it. They told us about it. They came together and informed the whole world that they have it. So I guess that they are in the best position to do so. As for the fact that the Ipob is proscribed and therefore you can't talk to them, and I do not think that that is correct. The fact is simple. They are showing that there is sympathy for them. And if you are in charge of a nation of diverse interests in the manner that we have, there must be a way for you to resolve issues without being unduly legalistic. And I've said it here before. Ipob and is whatever they are doing now and the tag that they are giving them is the fault of the federal government. How can you, I repeat, how can you leave people who have been able to shoot down a military aircraft and you don't call them terrorists? And you now say, oh, these ones who are running around here are terrorists and you will never talk to them. Yet, you are talking to those who shot down an aircraft. And so that is where the problem is. If the government is interested in having peace in our land, which is the first order of business of a government, which is the welfare and security of our people, then the Constitution, you have to explore all options. You don't write off one option and say, we won't do it. You write it off, the matter continues the way it is. Who loses? At the end of the day, the presidency of President Buhari will go into history. Whatever is false, is this thing, there will always be a reckoning in history. And if you want to be seen as the man who led Nigeria into its disintegration, then that is his decision to take. And so we have said we are ready. We are part of the Southeast. We know some of the people who we can all bring together, governors, Ohaneze, clergymen, everybody, and say, let's talk. And we have always said that. When I came here last time, I also said the same thing. I said, let's talk. Why wouldn't we talk? And so, for us from the Southeast, something is very, very difficult for us to comprehend. You're very willing to go and talk to foreign Fulanis who are invading Nigeria and causing mayhem here. You're very willing to talk to the people you call bandits. Of course, I've always told you here that I don't believe that they are bandits. They are terrorists. It's just that we're giving them a beautiful name. You're willing to pay ransom. You're willing to do all manners of negotiation with them. And we saw it. Why is it that when it comes to the Southeast, you're very unwilling? You want to bomb them. You want to do that. And I'll say one final thing. When you live in a country and your military is conducting sorties, air sorties, within your territory, I don't know what else you can call it. And so I don't like us coming and just pretending that there is no problem. We are in serious problem, and we need to deal with that.
All right, we'll take a short break. We'll come back to you, Senator Mubarak. Welcome back to the Morning Show right here on the Rise News channel. We still have Senator Enyinnaya Abaribe, Senate Minority Leader, former Governor of Abia State, and we're talking about a lot of issues as regards the southeast of Nigeria. So I want to talk about Igbo presidency. Since the last time, I think we talked about possibilities of people that might be running. You've not been able to say anything as regards your intention for that. But it looks as though there's been a lull as regards that conversation. I mean, it's not the buzzword in media any longer. We don't hear it. Nobody talks about it. When we talk about the East now, we talk about the conflicts and things happening in the East, the insecurity. So is it that it's rested for now? Is it something that probably Ohaneze and Igbo might have to raise with President Buhari at some point, and probably the political parties? Where are we with this Igbo presidency?
Well, Rufai, first of all, running for any office, you have to do it within the milieu of a political party, especially as the fact that we do not have independent candidates. Two, let me borrow the words of my good friend Peter Obi, who said that Nigeria is an engine of a vehicle that has knocked. And once that you don't go and look for a driver for a knocked engine because the vehicle will not move. So what you need is a mechanic, a good one that can repair the engine. And I think that there are very good mechanics in the Southeast, just like there are mechanics everywhere, but very good mechanics in the Southeast. What has led to what you think is a lull is that both parties are going through a period of getting the party leadership set. And it is only after that that you will now see people come out to say, I would like to put my heart in the ring. And I think that it's a process that we are going to see in the next few months. As for myself, I do not think that those who are doing the job of presidency today are much better than me. So when the time comes, I will let you know, Rufai, whether I will do much, much better. But like I said, the best mechanics are in the Southeast.
Okay, thank you.
Well, okay, a number of issues that you addressed at that Southeast Caucus meeting. One of them is the sit-at-home order and all of that. The other is the Nnamdi Kanu case. The meeting resolved that a committee will be set up to engage with federal government stakeholders to find a solution to the continued detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and that the Southeast Caucus will report back to Indigbo on a regular basis. Now, when is that committee going to be set up, and what kind of intervention is the Southeast Caucus going to bring forward, considering that the matter is already in court? The second thing that was considered also was the attack on that command secondary school in Nkube, in Jaba, local government area of Imo State. Students who were not allowed to write their English papers in the current ongoing school living certificate examination. Is the Southeast Caucus going to make any effort, or has any effort been made to engage with WAEC, the examination body, to ensure that these innocent children do not all receive absent, a categorization of absent in English language, considering how important English is to any form of future admissions for these young persons at the tertiary level, that is.
Hello, is this Mr. Lee?
Yeah, this is Mr. Lee. Who is this?
Those who want to discredit another group may decide that, okay, let us also go to do this and blame it on that group. And so there are just too many scenarios that you can run. But all we are interested in is making sure that this does not happen again. So we are interfacing with Ohaneze, we are interfacing with the clergy to be sure that we find out. We're also interfacing with the governors because they also have superior information than us about what is going on and how we can tackle it. And I think that at the end of our deliberations, we will do so. We're having another meeting when we come in next week. And I think that by the time we have that meeting, that particular committee will have been set up. We're not going to announce the committee because it's unnecessary. What we're going to do is just to meet with the authorities, because this is back channel movements we are going to do. And when we do that, and if the outcomes, we have to regularly tell our people this is where we are at the moment and this is where we're going. As for the fact of having some legal impediments, we know that you can talk even while you're in court. People, I think lawyers do it every time. You can decide, okay, let us go out of court and settle. So the fact that something is in court does not mean that you cannot discuss it or that you're precluded from having reaching some kind of agreement on it. We are all Nigerians. We are all citizens of this country, and we all have the same protection under the law. And that's what we want to make sure that everyone gets.
There's been some criticism from perhaps unlikely quarters in the person of Senator Ali Ndume about the high rate of borrowing in this country and the unseemly haste in making these approvals without the proper scrutiny. He also said that some of the approvals that have been made, the money is nowhere to be found. In your capacity as a Senate Minority Leader, what's your take on this issue?
I think that yesterday, the case was succinctly made by the head of the presidency's own economic team. If you are using 97.7% of your revenue to service debts, there's no sense in going ahead to borrow more. But in the Senate, this is what happens, and of course in the House of Reps. When a request is put forward by the president, it's sent to the Committee on Local and Foreign Debts. That committee will do its work and then bring a report to the floor of the Senate. So I'm going to wait until the report comes. But one thing I know is that the minority caucus will find it very difficult to continue to push Nigeria where we are going with this debt matter. How can a debt service to revenue ratio be 98%? It means that only 2% of your revenues is what you're going to use to do every other thing, both capital and recurrent expenditure, and that's impossible. Let's just put it that way. And so I would actually like to commend the president's team for pointing out to the president that where we are going is unsustainable, and that is our position. Where we are going with this debt is unsustainable, and we cannot accept such position. I think what they should just do is, we were able to manage this economy. The PDP was able to manage this economy and made it so, and we're just surprised that in 6 years we have gone, and just like Emir Sanusi said, we have wiped away the gains of the last 30 years in 6 years. That cannot be a fitting legacy for someone that was presented to us as a